Moved by a desire to change the subject, I asked why the solid people, since they were full of love, did not go down into hell to rescue the ghosts. Why were they content simply to meet them on the plain? One would have expected a more militant charity. Ye will understand better, that better perhaps before ye go, he said. In the meantime, I must tell ye, they have come further for the sake of the ghosts than ye can understand. Every one of us lives only to journey further and further into the mountains. Every one of us has interpreted that journey and retraced immeasurable distances to come down today on the mere chance of saving some ghost. Of course, it is also joy to do so, but ye cannot blame us for that. And it would be no use to come further, even if it were possible. The sane would do no good if they made themselves mad to help madmen. But what of the poor ghosts who never get into the omnibus at all? Everyone who wishes it does. Never fear. There are only two kinds of people in the end. Those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says in the end, "Thy will be done." All that are in hell, choose it. Without it, without that self-choice, there could be no hell. No soul that seriously and constantly desires joy will ever miss it. Those who seek find. To those who knock, it is opened. At this moment, we were suddenly interrupted by the thin voice of a ghost talking at enormous speed. Looking behind us, we saw the creature. It was addressing one of the solid people, and was doing so busily, too busily to notice us. Every now and then, the solid spirit tried to get in a word, but without success. The ghost's talk was like this: "Oh, my dear, I've had such a dreadful time. I don't know how I ever got here at all. I was coming with Eleanor Stone, and we'd arranged the whole thing, and we were to meet at the corner of Sink Street. I made it perfectly plain because I knew what she was like, and if I told her once, I told her 100 times. I would not meet her outside that dreadful Marjorbanks house. Not after the way she treated me. That was one of the most dreadful things that happened to me. I've been dying to tell you because I felt sure you'd tell me I'd acted rightly. No, wait, a moment, dear, till I've told you. I've tried living with her when I first came, and it was all fixed up. She was to do the cooking, and I was to look after the house, and I did think I was going to be comfortable after all. I'd been through it. But she turned out to be so changed, absolutely selfish, and not a particle of sympathy but for anyone but herself. And I once said to her, "I do think I'm entitled to a little consideration because you at least lived out your time, but I ought to have been here a few years, a years yet. Oh, but Of course, I'm forgetting. You don't know. I was murdered. Simply murdered, dear. That man should have never operated. I ought to be alive today. And they simply starved me in that dreadful nursing home, and no one ever came near me. And the shrill, monotonous whine died away as the speaker, still accompanied by the bright patience at her side, moved out of hearing. What troubles ye, son? Asked my teacher. I am troubled, I said, because that unhappy creature doesn't seem to me to be the sort of soul that ought to even be in danger of, of damnation. She isn't wicked. She's only a silly, garrulous old woman who has got into a habit of grumbling and feels that a little kindness and rest and change would do her all right. That is what she once was. That is maybe what she still is. If so, she certainly can be cured. But the whole question is whether she is now a grumbler. I should have thought there was no doubt about that. Aye, but you misunderstand me. The question is whether she is a grumbler or only a grumble. If there is a real woman, even the least trace of one, still there inside the grumbling, it can be brought to life again. If there's one wee spark under all those ashes, we'll blow it till the whole pile is red and clear. But if there's nothing but ashes, we'll not go on blowing them in the eyes, in my own eyes, forever. They must be swept up. But how can there be a grumble without a grumbler? The whole difficulty of understanding hell is that the thing to be understood is so nearly nothing. But you'll have had experiences. It begins with a grumbling mood, and yourself still distinct from it, perhaps criticizing it, and yourself in a dark hour may will that mood, embrace it. Ye can repent and come out of it again. But there may come a day when you can no longer. And then there will be no you left to criticize the mood, nor even to enjoy it, but just to grumble itself, going on forever like a machine. But come, ye are here to watch and listen. Lean on my arm, and we will go for a little walk. I obeyed. To lean on the arm of someone older than myself was an experience that carried me back to childhood, and with this support I found the going tolerable. So much so, indeed, I flattered myself my feet were already growing more solid, until a glance at the poor, transparent shapes convinced me that I owed all this ease to the strong arm of the teacher. Perhaps it was because of his presence that my other senses also appeared to be quickened. I noticed scents in the air which had hitherto escaped me, and the country put on new beauties. There was water everywhere, and tiny flowers quivering in the early breeze. Far off in the woods, we saw the deer glancing past. And once, a sleek panther came purring to my companion's side. We also saw many of the ghosts. I think the most pitiable was a female ghost. Her trouble was the very opposite of that which afflicted the other. The lady frightened by the unicorns. This one seemed quite unaware of her phantasmal appearance. More than one of the solid people tried to talk to her, and at first I was quite at a loss to understand her behavior toward them. She appeared to be contorting her all but invisible face and writhing her smoke-like body in a quite meaningless fashion. At last I came to the conclusion, incredible as it seemed, that she supposed herself still capable of attracting them and was trying to do so. She was a thing that had become incapable of conceiving conversation, save as a means to an end. If a corpse already liquid with decay had arisen from the coffin, smeared its gums with lipstick, and attempted a flirtation, the result could not have been more appalling. In the end, she muttered, "Stupid creatures," and turned back to the bus. This put me in mind to ask my teacher what he thought of the affair with the unicorns. "It will maybe have succeeded," he said. "He will have divined that he meant to frighten her. Not that fear itself could make her less a ghost, but if it took her mind a moment off herself, there might, in that moment, be a chance. I have seen them saved so." We met several ghosts that had come so near to heaven only in order to tell the celestials about hell. Indeed, this is one of the commonest types. Others who had perhaps been, like myself, teachers of some kind, actually wanted to give lectures about it. They brought fat notebooks full of statistics and maps, and one of them a magic lantern. Some wanted to tell anecdotes of the notorious sinners of all ages whom they had met below, but the most part seemed to think that the mere fact of having contrived for themselves so much misery gave them a kind of superiority. "You have lived a sheltered life," they bawled. "You don't know the seamy side. We'll tell you. We'll give you some hard facts," as if to tinge heaven with infernal images and colors, and had been the only purpose for which they came. All alike, so far as I could judge from my own exploration of the lower world, were wholly unreliable, and all equally incurious about the country in which they had arrived. They repelled every attempt to teach them, and when they found that nobody listened to them, they went back, one by one, to the bus. This curious wish to describe hell turned out, however, to be only the mildest form of a desire very common among the ghosts. The desire to extend hell, to bring it bodily, if they could, into heaven. There were tub-thumping ghosts who, in thin bat-like voices, urged the blessed spirits to shake off their fetters, to escape from their imprisonment in happiness, to tear down the mountains with their hands, to seize heaven for their own. Hell offered her cooperation. There were planning ghosts who implored them to dam the river, cut down the trees, kill the animals, build a mountain railway, smooth out the horrible grass and moss, heather with asphalt. There were materialistic ghosts who informed the immortals that they were deluded. There was no life after death, and this whole country was a hallucination. There were ghosts, plain and simple, mere bogies, fully conscious of their own decay, who had accepted the traditional role of the specter and seemed to hope they could frighten someone. I had no idea that this desire was possible, but my teacher reminded me that the pleasure of frightening is by no means unknown on earth, and also of Tacitus saying, "They terrify lest they should fear." When the debris of a decayed human soul finds itself crumbling into ghosthood and realizes I myself am now that which all humanity has feared. I am just that cold churchyard's shadow, that horrible thing which cannot be, yet somehow is. Then to terrify others is to it an escape from the doom of being a ghost, yet still fearing ghosts. Fearing even the ghosts. Fearing even the ghost. It is. For to be afraid of oneself is the last horror. But beyond all these, I saw other grotesque phantoms in which hardly a trace of human form remained. Monsters who had faced the journey to the bus stop. Perhaps for them it was 1,000 miles, and come up to the country of the shadow of life, and limped far into it over the torturing grass, only to spit and gibber out in one ecstasy of hatred, their envy, and what is harder to understand, their contempt of joy. The voyage seemed to them a small price to pay. If once, only once, within sight of that eternal dawn, they could tell the prigs, the toffs, the sanctimonious humbags, the snobs, the haves, what they thought of them. How do they come to be here at all? I asked my teacher. I have seen that kind converted, said he, when those ye would think less deeply damned have gone back. Those that hate goodness are sometimes nearer than those that know nothing at all about it, and they think they have it already. Whilst now, said my teacher suddenly, we were standing close to some bushes, and beyond them I saw one of the solid people and a ghost who had apparently just that moment met. The outlines of the ghost looked vaguely familiar, but I soon realized that what I had seen on Earth was not the man himself, but photographs of him in the papers. He had been a famous artist. God, said the ghost, glancing round the landscape. God what? asked the spirit. What do you mean, God what? Asked the ghost. In our grammar, God is a noun. Oh, I see. I only meant by gum, or something of the sort. I meant, well, all this. It's, I should like to paint this. I shouldn't bother about that just at present. If I were you, look here, isn't one going to be allowed to go on painting? Looking comes first. But I've had my look. I've seen just what I want to do. God, I wish I'd thought of bringing my things with me. The spirit shook his head, scattering light from his hair as he did so. That sort of thing's no good here, he said. What do you mean? Said the ghost. When you painted on Earth, at least in your earlier days, it was because you caught glimpses of heaven in the earthly landscapes. The success of your painting was that it enabled others to see glimpses too. But here, you are having the thing itself. It is from here that the messages came. There is no good telling us about this country. There's no good in telling us about this country, for we see it already. In fact, we see it better than you do. Then there's never going to be any point in painting here? I don't say that. When you've grown into a person, it's all right. We all had to. There'll be some things which you'll do better than anyone else. One of the things that you'll want to do will be to tell us about them. But not yet. At present, your business is to see. Come and see. He is endless. Come and feed. There was a little pause. That will be delightful, said the ghost presently in a rather dull voice. Come then, said the spirit, offering its arm. How soon do you think I could begin painting? It asked. The spirit broke into laughter. Don't you see? You'll never paint at all if that's what you're thinking about. What do you mean? Asked the ghost. Why, if you are interested in the country only for the sake of painting it, you'll never learn to see the country. But that's just how a real artist is interested in the country. No, you're forgetting, said the spirit. That was not how you began. Light itself was your first love. You loved to paint only as a means of telling, speaking about the light. Oh, that's ages ago, said the ghost. One grows out of that. Of course, you haven't seen my later works. One becomes more and more interested in paint for its own sake. One does indeed. I also have had to recover from that. It was a snare. Ink and catgut and paint were necessary down there, but they are also dangerous stimulants. Every poet and musician and artist, but for grace, is drawn away from love of the thing he tells to love of the telling till. Down in deep hell. They cannot be interested in God at all, but only in what they say about him. For it doesn't stop at being interested in paint, you know. They sink lower, become interested in their own personalities, and then in nothing but their own reputations. I don't think I'm much troubled in that way, said the ghost stiffly. That's excellent, said the spirit. Not many of us had quite got over it when we first arrived. But if there is any inflammation left, it will be cured when you come to the fountain. Well, what fountain is that? It is up there in the mountains, said the spirit, very cold and clear, between two green hills, a little like Lethe. When you have drunk of it, you forget forever all the proprietorship in your own works. You enjoy them just as they were someone else, just as if they were someone else's. Without pride, without modesty. That'll be grand, said the ghost with enthusiasm. Well, come, said the spirit, and for a few paces he supported the hobbling shadow forward to the east. Of course, said the ghost, as if speaking to itself. There will always be interesting people to meet. Everyone will be interesting. Oh, yes, to be sure. I was thinking of people in our own line. Shall I meet Claude or Suzanne? Or sooner or later, they're here. But don't you know? Well, of course not. I've only been here a few years. All the chances are against my having run across to them. There are a good many of us, you know. But surely, in the case of distinguishing people, you'd hear? But they aren't distinguished. No more than anyone else. Don't you understand? The glory flows into everyone and back from everyone like light and mirrors. But the light's the thing. Do you mean there are no famous men? They are all famous. They are all known, remembered. recognized by the only mind that can ever give a perfect judgment. Oh, of course, in that sense, said the ghost. Don't stop, said the spirit, making to lead him still forward. One must be content with one's reputation among posterity, then, said the ghost. My friend, said the spirit, don't you know? Know what? That you and I are already completely forgotten on Earth. Eh? What's that? Exclaimed the ghost, it disengaging with its arms. Do you mean those damned neo-regionalists have won after all? Lord love you, yes, said the spirit, once more shaking and shining with laughter. You couldn't get £5 for any picture of mine or even of yours in Europe or America today. We're dead out of fashion. I must be off at once, said the ghost. Let me go. Damn it all. One has one's duty to further the future of art. I must be off at once, said the ghost. Let me go. Damn it all. One has one's duty to the future of art. I must go back to my friends. I must write an article. There must be a manifesto. We must start a periodical. We must have publicity. Let me go. This is beyond a joke. And without listening to the spirit's reply, the specter vanished.